It is a story that has been told for 2,000 years, a story of immense suffering, but also of profound love. Imagine a hill outside a great city. The air is thick with sorrow and confusion. Here a man named Jesus of Nazareth was put to death. He was nailed to a wooden cross, a common and brutal form of punishment used by the Roman Empire. This was not a quick or easy death. It was designed to be slow, public, and filled with pain. Jesus was a teacher, a healer, a voice for the poor and the forgotten. His message was one of peace and love, yet he was condemned as a criminal. The day grew dark as if the sky itself was in mourning. Soldiers stood guard, and a small group of followers watched from a distance, their hearts broken. They had followed this man, listened to his teachings, and believed he was the promised one, the Messiah. Now they saw him hanging between two thieves, his body weakened, his breath shallow. He spoke a few last words, words of forgiveness for those who had wronged him. He asked his Father to forgive them because they did not understand what they were doing. This act of grace in a moment of ultimate agony is a powerful part of this story. The crucifixion was a very real, very human event. Jesus felt pain, he felt thirst, he felt the weight of the world's sadness. The people who watched saw a man they loved being destroyed. For his enemies it was a victory. They believed they had silenced a voice that challenged their power and their traditions. They thought that by killing the man, they could kill his message. But they were mistaken. The physical act of the crucifixion was an end, but it was also a beginning. It was the closing of one chapter and the dramatic, earth-shaking opening of another. This event, which took place on a dusty hill so long ago, is more than just a historical footnote. It has become a central symbol for one of the world's largest faiths. The cross, once a symbol of Roman terror and death, was transformed. It became a symbol of sacrifice, redemption, and unconditional love. The story of what happened on that day has been passed down through generations. It has been painted, sung, and written about. It asks us to look at the darkest moments and find a glimmer of something divine, something that endures beyond the pain and the suffering of our human experience. In the days and weeks that followed the crucifixion, the world for Jesus' followers was turned upside down. They were filled with fear and despair. The leader they had placed all their hope in was gone, executed in the most humiliating way possible. They scattered, they hid, they mourned. To them, the event was a crushing defeat. It seemed like the end of everything they had worked for and believed in. The powerful had won, and the message of a new kingdom of love and justice seemed to have died with Jesus. This was a time of deep, personal crisis for every single person who had walked with him. But then, something remarkable happened. The story did not end with death. His followers began to speak of a resurrection. They claimed that Jesus had risen from the dead, that he had conquered death itself. This belief changed everything. Their fear turned into courage. Their despair turned into a powerful, unshakable hope. The crucifixion was no longer seen as a defeat, but as a purposeful sacrifice. It was, in their eyes, a necessary part of a divine plan. It was the ultimate act of love, a sacrifice made to bridge the gap between humanity and God. This new understanding ignited a fire in their hearts. They began to preach with incredible boldness. They traveled from their homeland, sharing the story of Jesus' life, death, and resurrection. The crucifixion became the cornerstone of their message. It was proof of God's immense love for humanity. They explained that through this sacrifice, forgiveness was now possible for everyone. This was a radical idea. It offered hope to people who felt lost, to those who were considered outcasts by society. It told them that they were loved, that they were valued, and that they could be made new. For the people of that time, living under Roman rule, this message was revolutionary. It offered a spiritual freedom that no empire could take away. It spoke of a king whose kingdom was not of this world and a power that was greater than any army. The story of the crucifixion and resurrection gave them a new identity and a new purpose. It formed a community built not on power or wealth, but on shared faith and mutual love. The event that was meant to crush a movement instead became the very thing that fueled its incredible, unstoppable growth across the world. The story of the crucifixion did not stay within the borders of Judea. It spread like wildfire across the Roman Empire and beyond, carried by apostles, merchants, and missionaries. As this message traveled, it began to change the very fabric of societies. The core ideas that sprang from the crucifixion, ideas of inherent human worth, compassion for the poor, and the power of forgiveness, were radical. They challenged the rigid social hierarchies of the ancient world, where a person's value was often determined by their birth, wealth, or status. The message said that every soul, from the emperor to the slave, was precious in the eyes of God. Over centuries, these values seeped into the foundations of Western civilization. Concepts like charity, caring for the sick, and social justice have deep roots in the teachings that the crucifixion represents. The first hospitals and orphanages in Europe were often started by Christian groups, motivated by the call to love their neighbors as themselves, a love exemplified by Jesus' sacrifice. The belief that every individual has dignity has influenced the development of human rights. It's a long, complex history. But the ripple effects of that one event on a hill are undeniable. It helped shape a new moral compass for millions. Of course, the journey of this message through history has not been perfect. The story has been used at times to justify wars, to oppress people, and to accumulate power. Humans have often failed to live up to the profound ideals of love and forgiveness that the crucifixion teaches, but the message itself has endured, a constant call back to its core principles. It has inspired countless movements for social change, from the abolition of slavery to the fight for civil rights. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. drew strength and inspiration from this story of redemptive suffering and unwavering hope. The impact can also be seen in our art, our music, and our literature. For 2 millennia, artists have wrestled with the meaning of the crucifixion, creating masterpieces that explore its sorrow, its mystery, and its glory. From the grand cathedrals of Europe to the simple hymns sung in a small village church, the event has fueled human creativity. It has given us a language to talk about suffering, sacrifice, and the hope for something more. The cross is one of the most recognized symbols on earth, a constant reminder of a story that has profoundly shaped the world we live in today. So what does this ancient event mean for us now in our modern, fast-paced world? The message of the crucifixion speaks directly to the timeless human condition. We all experience pain. We all know what it is to feel lost or broken. We all struggle with our own failings and the ways we have hurt others. The story of the crucifixion offers a powerful message of hope. It tells us that even in our darkest moments, we are not alone. It suggests that suffering does not have the final word, and that new beginnings are possible even after the most devastating endings. The idea of forgiveness is at the very heart of the crucifixion story. Jesus' words from the cross, "Father, forgive them," are a profound challenge to us all. Holding on to anger and resentment can be a heavy burden. Forgiveness, whether we are giving it or receiving it, can be incredibly freeing. This message teaches that no one is beyond redemption. It offers a path to healing for broken relationships and wounded hearts. It is a daily practice, a choice to let go of bitterness and to embrace compassion, both for others and for ourselves. This is as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. And then there is love. The crucifixion is often described as the ultimate act of love, a selfless sacrifice made for the sake of others. This is not a sentimental, easy love. It is a strong, resilient love that endures through hardship. It calls us to love our neighbors, to care for the vulnerable, and to see the divine in every person we meet. In a world often divided by conflict, fear, and misunderstanding, this call to a radical, inclusive love is more important than ever. It is a love that builds bridges, not walls, and seeks to unite rather than divide. As we look to the future, the message of the crucifixion will remain a vital source of guidance for generations to come. The challenges facing humanity will change, but the fundamental needs of the human heart will not. People will always search for hope in times of despair. They will always need forgiveness to mend what is broken. And they will always long for a love that is true and unconditional. The story of the crucifixion, a story of sacrifice that leads to new life, will continue to inspire people all over the world to live with greater courage, deeper compassion, and an unshakable hope for a better tomorrow.